All right, guys, how we doing? Sam here with you. It's Monday, June 24th here, so we're going to look at crypto, and you got some interesting choices here in the polling, but it looks like Litecoin to the dollar was your first choice, so I'll get started on that here, and looks like we've got a couple others as well here that are very close by, so no surprise that there'd be some interest in Litecoin. Now, it looks a lot like Bitcoin, right? Doesn't it? So we're working through the pivots here as it's come down. Now again, I didn't put the count coming down here. Again, we've been through it so many times here, but so I just make the note here. So just like Bitcoin, it's the same. Well, shit, it wouldn't matter. Same any asset, right? So we're just from high to low. We're in an internal retracement. So as we're working through this, we work from these dominant pivots here. So we can see here, we went to the 65, the golden zone had a little reaction. We get through, so now that we're through, we go to the next one. And so this one seems to be potentially in play here as we're hovering right here at the 50. Now, it's not unreasonable to think that we could have more legs here. We're just hesitating here, so you want to know where you are relative to any type of resistance you're going to run to tied to those prior pivots. You know, someone made the comment when we were looking at Bitcoin. You know, as I was talking about, well, it's not likely to just go straight. Well, you know, then you look left and you say, oh, really? Right? It's not likely to go straight. Look at that. Right? Well, but the difference being, there's no resistance, right? There was no resistance on the way up. Here, now we've got to fight through all this resistance, right, on the way. So we're still, right, until we break that high, an internal retracement. So they're fairly well set for us. So if we break that one and we're going here, then this is the big one, right? So what's the big number here? Is 254, 255-ish. Then we have no resistance. So until we get there, we just work with them one at a time. So here's the one we're working on now, which, as I recall, was a technical pivot. So we can look here to here, right? So there's the 50 first. Oh, look at Jesus. And so you wonder why. So let me get this one. I got two of them on here. Yeah, I do. Okay, give me a second here. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so this is what I want to show you. So why are these consistent? Well, look what happens here. So here's the 50 first target. And of course you can spot it, right? We second target to the tick, right? And that's where we start. So unlike Bitcoin, which did it, the big pivot was at the 23, this actually had the legs to get second target. So we can understand why, right? Why these levels are significant. So as we just kind of work through them here, we want to go back to where we know an algorithm was in play. So we know that this move here was algo driven, right? So we know what happened there, right here. So here was the 23 and here was the negative 618. So we know that's an important pivot. Right? So the fact that we're hovering here at the 50 is not terribly surprising. Now that said, let's get in there and see how it looks in terms of us getting through that. So I'm on a 12-hour here. I'm on Bitstamp. Should have mentioned that. More just remarkably technical trading. It's just great examples of how these pivots are consistently tested and come into play, yet they're framing the Elliott count as it moves higher. I guess I should, for consistency, be doing the same thing down here. So the one part of this count that is tricky, and I don't know that it matters terribly here at this point in time, is this section here. Right? Really, it doesn't really matter how we label that. So we can see what happened here, right? So same thing, right? Should be no surprise. What do we do here, right? So look what we do. So we go. That's just remarkable, right? We go in. We go into the lips of the Vegas wave, tap the 50. Now note what happens here. We go to the first target, reaction. Then we go to the second target, reaction. Right? Exactly the same as coming down. Right? Exactly the same. Right, so if you have question marks about whether or not these algorithms are in crypto or in the market, I'd like to think, shit, how long have I been doing these? 18 months, over 1,000 videos. I think I've shown this at least 1,500 times, at least. Right? It's in every video I've ever done. I've never done a video where you couldn't find it. Right? It's always there. So this looks pretty solid. So where are we in the count? So this, I'm not even gonna. doesn't matter anymore, right? We got a candidate for a 4, and we're coming off of that impulsively. So since we know we're at that 50 and that we've just we're sort of potentially at some resistance here, both in terms of a profit target for an algorithm here, and my guess is this is probably right here as well. All right, so we go golden zone right here first, little pause, and so we get this confluence zone up here where they're, now remember, an algo target, it's not so this is not a sell signal. It's just a place to be anticipating that the market may pause, or you might see a reaction based to profit being taken. Right? So this algorithm here, right, is now starting to take profit. Right, so they start here. Right, if it's going to continue to go, then of course the next thing will happen will be the next 50. So if we take this off, right, what they do is relatively simple, guys. It's not as complicated as you might think. So here we come to the 50. So this is why this fit dovetails in so nicely with Elliott Wave. So if this comes down, right, so we get a candidate here. Now, if it's going to do a traditional, looks like we might have an A, looks like that's a 3, we're coming down. Are we going to get the algo participation here? We got to get to the 50. All right, so that's what looks like is in play. That would get us up here. For that, we'd be now closer to remember we're at the 50, we'd be pushing up towards the 618 of that last pivot. So I think we can probably take this off so those targets are met. Now I did notice this here, so we've got this here. Let me just clear this up just a tad. So this is the next place where there's an opportunity to get long, right? If we come down to that 50. So if we're 1-2, the impulse here is, let's go in there. Let's go to the 4 hour here so you can see it. Let me tighten this up here. So, but these are just absolutely, to the tick, right? So we can see 1, 2. Well, let me label this here. So you can see here's the wave 1, 2, 3, right? 4. We come up for the 5, then down for the 2. Now you got to dig the ABC out of there, and I don't have it opened up here. I'm still on a 4 hour. But it's there. You can come down and you can get the A, the B, and the C are there. Let's get we'll go that, and we'll go to yellow. So you've got it. I'll open it up here so we can see it. Okay, so you've got the A. Here's my B. Here's the B, right? So we get an A, B, C. Now we come down right 1 tick spared. All right, so we note Vegas wave right there yet again. So we get 1, 2. All right, so we've got a completed impulse off of the proposed wave 4 low. Pretty easy to spot, right? Not terribly complicated. And it's technical, right? No surprise. Right? Litecoin has been remarkably technical, so look here. Okay, so once again, right to the golden zone, no problem, right? A little pause at second target, it keeps going. So we've got a 1, 2's in, right? We know that's technical. 1, 2, you're gonna have to dig the 3, 4, 5 out of there. Looks like, and then we got a little ABC into the 4 here. So we've got a nice clean 1 up to the 1. Now let's get that right on it. Okay, so we've got a nice clean 1 here, and I know it's hard to get context here as we're moving. I just want to show you how to, now what do we do? A, B, C, right down. So we have golden zone here. Then we go from the 2 to the 2 to the 4. Right, it's just literally by the book, right? So here's 50. That makes it. So where do we stop for the 4? We come down to go the tick or 2 through the 50. We don't overlap the 1, straight up. First target gets it, no problem. What do? We come down. We go right back to the golden. Well, here we go to this structure. We actually don't, interestingly. So here, let me get this right here. So that pivot seems to hold it. So if we get the full thing put together. All right, so we come here. So that pivot, we don't quite make the golden zone. We don't get exactly to the 618. We get right just a couple of ticks from the Vegas wave, and the structure holds it. All right, so absolutely textbook. Right. Well, now, so it wouldn't have mattered actually if it had overlapped, but it's just more confirmation here that we've got structure here that's aiding in our ability to identify the count. So I've got 5 going up, 3 going down. Right, I don't have to be a master Elliottician to get that count. Right, so 1, 2, we do it again. So 1, up we go. 1, here's the 2. 3, A, B, C, here's the 4. Note what happens yet again to the tick, just as this one was. Right, down here. So we go 2 to the 4. Let's get this off since those were just knocking them as we go here. I guess we'll just keep it going. Get that off. All right, pretty just right. It's as like literally. If I was just talking from an Elliott Wave textbook, let's get that right on it. My low right there. Okay, so we come. Note this. I'm right on it. Okay, so I've got a 1, 2. Up we go for the 3. Yet again, right to the golden zone. First target, second target. So it would be worth certainly wicking off some of the structure here. So where are we in the count? Well, that looks like that I've got my third. So putting this all back together in terms of where we are in the context and how remarkably technical this has been all the way, right? Just, you know, it almost looks like it's been faked. It's so good. 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 is in. This looks very 4-ish, right? Very characteristic of a 4. We're just essentially chopping sideways. So we do actually have a one here on Bitstamp. We have a 1 tick break of the high. Right now we just call it a double top. So is this maybe the 4 would be? Let's go to an hourly here. Is there enough there for that 4 to be in? Looks like an A to me. So it looks like we've got an A, and it looks like, well, yeah, the broader, I think we've got to stick with this as an A. Right now, we got to stay with a B there because the structure here, so it looks like you can go A, B, C into so you'd have your subdivision in the B wave here. Now note, the B is beyond the pivot here, so we'd have potentially now, do I have a, it's kind of ugly on that A. Can we get it? 4, 5. Looks like I can get. I could either do it. I don't want to go too much below that here. Almost looks like I can get a. So it looks like I've got an A, B, C here. So it looks like we'd have to work this as a flat. So it looks like I've got A, B, C, and then A, B, C. So we'd have 3, 3, anticipating 5 down. Because I don't think I have a good, enough 5 here, because you can see the ABC right here, AB. Then it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this looks more like I've got a running flat going here. So let's go back to the 2 hour here and try and put the thing together. So if this is going to come down here, that would be an ideal spot for it. So B. So certainly not suggesting that you sell that. Just looking for where the next buying opportunity is. So if this is good here as the 3, so I'm going to use this, not the B pivot. I'm going to go from the at this degree. Now, so note the 3 here in green. I'm going to go back to this pivot. So look where that puts us. This structure puts us right here. Additionally, I've got a low volume node here as we have no market acceptance there. So I've got a nice sweet spot right here, just waiting for this to come down. Now this looks like a channel is going to play ball here pretty well. So I'm going to do it this way and bring it down. Okay, so we could, man, this could be very short-lived over here. We don't want to assume that it's going to be over there, but that's generally the range we'd be looking for. Come on down here, give me that little, so you could even really, if you really wanted to be precise about it, tighten this little structure up here. Right at the 38, right where you're looking at it, right where we have this low volume node. Now we might, so this is visible range, so we can get a fairly good idea of where our divot is. So you can see here, right, we've got the hole here, which, you know, right, so just straight across. Perfect example of it. So we know there'll be, so if it's going to come down to the 50, there we have volume here. So there'll be, if that does come down here, you know you're likely to find this is where size will look to buy, right? So that right at the 50, right? They'll be looking for that. So the one to be watching for here. So I don't know that I'd go heavy-handed here on the first buy. One, we're trying to get the 5th of the 5th of the 1. So to go heavy here, looking for that, that's not a time to go heavy. So this is I'd look for, if you were maybe 40% of whatever you're going to put on here at the 38, leave some in reserve for the 50. If we start to fall below that, right, you know, the deeper we go here, the lower the probability of getting up to that high. So we'd rather see the 4 come in here between the 30, well, ideally between the 23 and the 38, but the 50 just as reasonable. And if we get to the 50, well, let's just check 2 things, right? So this is not the dominant. So we've got our Elliott hats on there looking for that 38, but if this would be the dominant, so we got to pay attention to where that 50 is from the swing low to the swing high. And interestingly, right here at the 1 pivot. So that 1, well, it would, so we could probably work this as an ABC. So if we had to, if you got the overlap of the 1 here, this could, potentially we could have an ending diagonal here, but we don't want to go there unless we're forced to, and that we don't need to unless we overlap that 1. So thus, this area here looks like a good buying opportunity, and right down here would be a reasonable buying opportunity. You could use the other side of the 50. So you've got a couple of, this is going to start to come down here. We'd be anticipating some sort of a 5. If we get something like that, that's the play that we're after here. But I wouldn't shy away from a nibble at the 38 because of the structure, because of how it's consistently been working through these levels. And then, of course, from the wave 2 here, so we get kind of this confluence zone here. So if I put that right on it. So we've got this as an ideal zone right here as well. Right, so maybe start here. Last ad would be here. Well, you could put your stop under the 65 here, as that's going to start to change the count. If the 2 to the 3 doesn't hold us, then we go into a diagonal. Now we got to be back here revisiting this, looking forward to how does it play as an ending diagonal. Right now, we're kind of, it certainly is shaped and staying inside this channel. The anticipation would be that we're just going to come down here, test this, and then go back up here and complete that. But take note what we're completing. Let's go back to that 12-hour. All right, and then let's get that 618 in here, and then we'll wrap it here, and I'll move on to, what am I looking for? So here's the one that we're working with. So from that low, get that right. Shit, where am I? Right on there. Okay, so look at this nice confluence up here where we've got this algo target. Now we go back to, let's go back, we can go to the 4-hour. Nice fat target up here. So this is the play you're looking for right there. So we'd be looking for buying in, or let's call it 122.90. Targets up here at the algo 160 to 170. You got a $10 range there. So that's a good looking trade, but there's no reason to go overly heavy here, because see the temptation always, if you get a trade like that and it starts to go, the temptation will be to stay with it. Right? You'll be like, oh shit, look, not that it couldn't keep going. That's not what I'm saying, but I've made this mistake so many times. So you get caught up into so your mind, right, the greed kicks in, right? You can't even control it, right? You have to make a conscious effort to recognize it, because your greed starts to kick in and you're like, oh, it could keep going. It could keep going. But usually what happens is you get to those levels, now it'll start to come down. Then you're thinking, well, maybe it's just a retrace. Maybe, right. And then, right, you're giving back profit. So when you're in a trade like this, have a target. Instead of thinking, we could be off to new all-time highs, have a reasonable target here and just commit to that. Okay, so I'm going to set up a 4 or 5 to 1 risk reward here. If I get my target, I don't give into that temptation to think, it could keep going. Not that it couldn't. It's just you're making a business decision here. I am willing to accept the 4 to 1 or 5 to 1 or whatever it is here, risk reward here. When I get that target, I'm going to take that profit. It's kind of back to where we were. Could it keep going straight? Yeah, of course. But is that probable? Do you want to risk giving up this nice little 4 or 5 to 1 here that you'd have on the idea that it's just going to keep going? There's no stopping it, right? We know that. Right, we pull back out. There's going to be resistance up there. So just a word of caution, because I've done that before. And then you're thinking, all we have to do is go back here. It's going to go up to the next one. Yeah, of course it could. But we're starting to get pretty overextended in the 5th relative to the 3rd when you start pushing for that. And because then, right, it's easy to think, oh, well, all I have to do is go up here. It's just going to keep going, keep going. Now that's symmetry. Now you're talking about this kind of a thing. So now you'd be anticipating. This is what the greed is tying you into. Right? You think, oh, this is what I'm going to get. Right? Not that that's never happened. Not that it's not possible. But do you want to bet on that happening, or is it more likely we'd do something like that? All right. So you put that back together. Right? And now we're looking for that. We're already looking for an extension in the 5th relative to the 3rd. So just my point being, careful about that, right? If you get if you go into that trade and you have a target, at least take 60 to 70% off there, right? If you want to leave a little bit in to let it run, that sure, I can understand the temptation, because there's plenty of room to go, right? So we're talking about 260 as the upside here, but no, there are going to be little retracements. It's probable there will be something. Some event will cause that retracement here, because remember, all we're trying to do here is complete the 1 at the largest degree, right? This is still plenty of upside to go here. This is what we're after. But remember, the odds, just nothing more than the odds, that after we do that and we complete this, there's going to be some sort of a 2 before we go up for the 3. Again, I'm not saying that it's inevitable. It's just more probable, right? I know. You look over here and you go, right, difference, right? No resistance. All right, guys, I kind of went long there. Okay, I'll be back. I got a couple more for you.